and what the most common mistake you're seeing business owners make.
One of the main things we see is leaving it too late.
We have a very special guest, Rob Bell. He's an expert financial planner. He has decades of experience in helping business owners.
If you've never had a pension at that point, you're then going to be unable to backdate the contributions. It's that picture for the future. We work out what that number is, and then we can work backwards from there. Social media is full of people trying to sell, and what the funny thing about it is it's all sponsored by. There's planning you can do on the run up to that. You can be building wealth personally as well as in the business. Financial planning is all about planning for multiple years, if not decades.
So welcome to the 80/20 Thought Leadership Podcast. Today we have very special guest, Rob Bell from Finova Money. He is an expert financial planner. He has decades of experience in helping business owners and high net worth individuals make themselves even wealthier. Today is an exciting topic because we both work with business owners and growing business owners, in fact, right, from a financial perspective. And what they tend to ignore is their own personal financial situation. They're so focused on the business that they don't really give the necessary time and attention to growing their own personal wealth. And that actually starts with their accountant normally, within the business normally, and they don't actually go outside of the business to get the right advice. So today we're hoping to debunk myths, talk about everything they need to know about investing properly, and hopefully getting to their dream outcome. So Rob, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I want to jump in with a bit of value for the listeners straight away. And I wanted you to maybe highlight, what the most common mistake you're seeing business owners make when it comes to managing their personal finances, investing for the future. What are they massively missing?
So I think you've already hit the nail on the head. One of the main things we see is leaving it too late. Business owners are so busy in the business. They've got to deal with staff, clients, with their pipelines, what's going on a day-to-day that it's so easy to forget or for it to fall down the priority list of actually looking after themselves for the long term, focusing on today rather than 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. And missing out on that time is probably one of the biggest lessons we see is damaging to the long term. Starting early is so powerful.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing you've met a number of business owners then who've left it a little bit too late.
Where we normally encounter that, it's where you see a business owners coming to us. They normally a bit apprehensive because one thing about financial planning is it is a proactive activity. It's a service that is forward thinking. It's not about looking back. Accountants are very much focused on where you are today, what's happened over the last 12 months and how to report on that. A financial planner is looking ahead, and this can be decades ahead. And by focusing on that, that's uncomfortable. They're going to ask questions which might not be something that comes up on a daily basis, like what do you really want from your future, and diving into that in detail. And that can be uncomfortable for people. It's hard work as well, because imagining what life's going to be like in 5 years is hard enough.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I come across a lot of business owners who actually don't really know what the answer is. Yeah. How do you tend to approach that? You're speaking with somebody, they run a 2 or 3 million pound EBITDA company. They've got all the shares in it. They've been paying themselves handsomely for years and years and years, but they don't really have a succession plan in place. They don't have an exit strategy. They don't really know what to do, and they live a pretty good lifestyle. Yeah. How do you advise somebody like that who doesn't really know?
Normally it starts off quite slowly. It is starting to ask questions of what do you want life to look like? It can be simple of what's the negotiables? What could you live without?
Yep.
What don't you want to live without? It can be travel. It can be the ability to go away and spend a month in a new country or a different continent. Yeah. It can be helping out kids. It's a huge motivator for a lot of parents to help out their children. And it's starting to put together a vision for the future. And that doesn't always happen in the first conversation. There can be several conversations about what that's going to look like. Now, alongside that, we're doing all the good stuff around the kind of financial planning, making sure the tax is right, making sure that the investments are right, making sure that everything's aligned with the appropriate amount of risk for the future. But getting a really clear idea of where you're going is one of the most valuable parts of building that financial plan.
Absolutely. So tell me more about Finova Money. Obviously met some of your business partners. We've been sort of partnering on some things over the last year or so. Would love to tell the listeners or have the listeners hear a bit more about you guys and how you're different, because from my perspective, you've got the sort of SJPs of the world, you've got the big names out there, and then you've got independents, but what does your company look like, and how does it differ from everyone else?
Yeah, so the company was launched just over 2 years ago now. Me and my two business partners worked together previously. We're at a good firm, but their view for the future was slightly different to what we were looking for. And I think what it came down to is what we enjoy most from our day-to-day is working with our clients. It's helping people achieve what they want to achieve and doing that in a way we feel is fair. So we're independent planners. We're not tied to any big bank, any provider, so we can go to the whole of market, figure out what it is that's going to be best for that person and that client. We work on a kind of a lifestyle focus. So all of our planning starts with that vision for the future, the financial plan, and we design that, and then we build that, and we put a roadmap in place that clearly outlines exactly what it is each client has to do for themselves to help them achieve that vision for the future.
Yeah.
So we work on a slightly different way around kind of costs and charges as well. It's because everyone is different and they don't all fit in one box. The way we actually charge is on a retainer model, and it's each individual client gets a quote for the year, and that covers everything. So we don't charge clients when they're adding money. We don't charge clients when something changes and we need to pull money from one pot and put it into another. It's all about plan for that year, clearly define what we're going to do and charge for that. And there's not many kind of businesses at all that are doing that. And I think we've been told a few times that we're probably leaving money on the table, but from my view, I think we're just being fair. Like people shouldn't be penalised for having more money, and people who have less money shouldn't be kind of excluded from advice if there is value to be had there, especially early stage business owners.
So on that point then, when is the right time to start planning in your business ownership journey?
I think it comes down to how much you know about your financial position and what you can achieve over the years to come. One of the most valuable things we do is an initial conversation. It's sit down, chat through where someone is, kind of no obligation to do anything, but it's just highlighting different things to consider. Make sure you've got enough cash that you're not going to get caught short on a monthly basis. Make sure you're paying yourself in a kind of tax efficient way. Don't leave money in the business if you could be taking it and using it personally, or building it up in a more tax efficient way, paying basic rate tax instead of higher rate tax a few years out to kind of minimize that tax burden on you. And just signpost different options that could be available. Now, sometimes that conversation does wonders for the next 2-3 years. And after that, people come back to us and say, that really helped me. It got me there. I'm now earning more. The business is thriving. I'm probably ready to start taking this a bit more seriously. I'm in a situation where I can start investing. A great example of this is so many business owners forego opening a pension.
Yeah.
Now, it's really common one thrown up all the time. But by opening it early, even chucking £100 in, for example, that once that's open, that can give you options 3 years down the line.
But it's from the day you have to open it. You can't backdate it.
If you've never had a pension up to that point, you're then going to be unable to backdate the contributions.
What about if you were previously employed somewhere, had a pension? That's all good?
That's all good. Yeah, if you've got a final salary pension from the past as well, yeah, all good.
Okay, that's super interesting. Yeah, and again, that's something that I come across quite a lot. Is there's a lot of these tips and tricks that accountants tend to know when it comes to what you can take out of the business, how you can pay yourself. And I find that a new thing crops up every year or so. Not that the government releases it, it's just what somebody finds it in a tax code somewhere and goes, oh, you can take this much out of your business for that and this much out of your business for this. So one thing I've observed is most business owners go to their accountants for this sort of advice. How much to get paid? What do I take out? Should I buy this through my pension? How can I be more tax efficient? And in reality, most accountants are they're bookkeepers. They're not tax experts. So what sort of a flying formation should a business owner have when it comes to the right advisors around them? Because you've got accountants, tax planners, you've got wealth managers, financial planners. I mean, a lot of this is semantics, but what should your sort of advisory board or network look like when it comes to making sure you're one, de-risk for the future, and two, you're making your money go as far as it can be.
Yeah, again, it's important to have a team around you, whether it's just for a conversation or whether it's for serious planning. An accountant is typically going to be looking backwards to say, how much tax do you owe? And it's a question we see all the time. How much money should I take out? And most people will take out just as much as they need and therefore leave money on the table. They'll then be forced at a later date to take more money out at a higher tax rate because they haven't planned ahead. And that's where the accountant makes sure that the tax is right. A financial planner will make sure that the plan for the future is right. And then you obviously need the other support around that. So it's a good legal team, making sure your contracts are right, watertight, HR, internal as well. And it's just making sure that what your business needs is being serviced by someone who understands you, understands your business, your concerns, the risks to you, and is able to kind of give you advice that fits your situation rather than generic advice that may or may not be right for you.
And when it comes to the planning, so walk me through that planning process. You know, what I do for my clients is pretty similar, but for the business, right? It's where do you want to get to? Where are you today? How do we actually do that? What are the problems? How do we fix them? But I guess you're having a similar conversation, but different when it comes to, okay, well, this is your net worth today. This is how much your business is worth. What does that North Star future look like? So what does that process look like with your company?
Yeah, so it starts with a financial health check, basically. Where are you today? What have you got in place? And it's a top to bottom review of everything you've got going on and then the possibilities around that. So we'll always look to the future. What's important? Where do you want to be? And kind of almost figure out what is your number? What is the number you need to have financial independence where you don't need to work again? Doesn't mean you're not going to, but you could choose to stop working, to pull back a bit, to go and do a passion, a vocation that you really enjoy, spend more time with the family. So it's that picture for the future. We work out what that number is, and then we can work backwards from there, factoring in lots of different scenarios that may or may not come to fruition.
Yeah.
We look at contingency planning. So have you got enough cash in the bank to cover the unexpected car breaking down, a boiler, to find a replacement staff member if they walk out unexpectedly? We will look at the insurance, because making sure you've got, so a great option for business owners is relevant life cover, paid by the business, tax deductible, tax free for you as the business owner, and you're not paying it out of your net income. So a great way to switch money from your take home income, saves a couple of £100 a month, and puts that into the business, tax deductible there as well. So you can look at all of these different options, start pension planning, depending on what they're looking for in the future. Maybe if they are a company that's going to be using a property, can we look at actually buying a property within the pension? That's going to take a bit of runway. So it's making sure that we have a very clear idea, and then we can work towards that in a kind of a clear roadmap.
And do you find that people are open to the idea of sort of saying, look, this is how much money I've got, this is how much I'm worth, or does it take quite a bit of time to get that trust and get it out of them? Because imagine it's quite a vulnerable state to be in, saying, look, this is me financially.
Yeah, definitely. I think it always starts off with a kind of testing the water. Some people walk in and they're like, I don't care, look at me, I'm standing here naked in front of you, I don't care, like just tell me the answer. And that's generally quite an easy place to start from. Other people, you have to tease it out of them, and they're going to give you little snippets of what's on their mind that might not be comfortable saying outright, but they'll give you little bits, and you can add value to them just by, one, listening, and two, coming up with kind of leading suggestions to say, well, have you thought about this? Or that sounds like you might be interested in this sort of idea. Does that ring true for you? And you're able to just then get to grips. And as people start to trust you, they'll tell you more and more. It is so common that we have big conversations. We'll go through the whole planning process, and then a client will turn around and say, I can tell you I've actually got a bit more here. Yeah. I thought you were going to be like one of those other guys who was just going to try and take me for my money and charge a big fee, but I now understand what you guys are about, and I trust you more than I did then. So let's have a conversation about that as well. And you kind of sit there, you roll your head a little bit, but that has taken a lot of time and effort on both sides to build that trust.
Well, it's also good for you from a business model perspective because, trust is everything, relationships is everything, but the switching cost is quite high because they've got to go and trust somebody else and open the kimono to them and give it all away. So it's quite an attractive business model. And I'm guessing business owners stay with you beyond the sale and into retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the attractive bits for us is so a lot of business owners, their wealth is tied up in their business.
Yep.
They don't have loads of cash to invest. And for the vast majority of financial advisors, they are not worth the time. Once that sale comes up and they have that large cash lump sum or kind of runway out, all of a sudden you're now saying, well, come and speak to us. Like, now you've got money. Now you're important to us. Quite a few of our clients are early stage business owners where they may be exiting in 5 years' time. There's planning you can do on the run up to that. You can be building wealth personally as well as in the business. And it does depend on what type of business you're running, whether it's a lifestyle business that you are happy to sit in, work 3-4 days a week, enjoy big holidays throughout the year, or whether you're growing to sell and scale or scale and sell, sorry.
Well, that's a key one, right? I was just speaking with a client yesterday about this and looking at either growing the business more through acquisitions or selling it. And they're blissfully unaware of actually how to value the business, what running costs through the business means for the value. And it's all, I kind of said, look, there's EBITDA, there's adjusted EBITDA, there's anything you do in the business that's personal, you can just charge back. As in, you give the money back when you go to sell it. So all of that doesn't really affect the value at the end of the day. But I guess what this shows is even people making lots of money don't really understand the financial dynamics of things. So it's really, really important that they have the right advice. And what I've seen a lot of lately is sort of people going to self-proclaimed experts for advice and putting in place cookie cutter financial plans, and the rise of digital AI, all of that stuff is created a number of apps. I know, was it JP Morgan bought Nutmeg?
Yep.
That's one example of an app that a lot of, I wouldn't even say just youthful people use, but a lot of older people use too, as a substitute for paying an expert. And then they go in and they select their risk profile and levels. I mean, what are your thoughts as an expert in this space? What are your thoughts on the apps?
The app is just following an algorithm. It's not going to be looking at their situation. You are answering questions and it is then putting you into a pigeonhole. It might be a smaller pigeonhole along a spectrum, but it's a pigeonhole nonetheless. It's not going to be proactive. It's not going to be there to talk to you if something goes wrong. And I think the most valuable part of a relationship with a financial planner is that ability to pick up the phone, drop them an email and just say, this is going on. I'm a little bit worried, like, talk me off the ledge here.
Yeah, and you've got their back too. So have you ever seen examples of where maybe other advisors have taken these people on a ride?
Yeah. I work with a client who it still to this day winds me up. But he had a very good final salary pension. He was going to be guaranteed 25 grand a year for the rest of his life from just after 60, 62. And his advisor basically turned around and said, oh, it's a bit underfunded. That'll probably collapse at some point. You want to look at moving it. Okay. And introduced him to his friend. And his friend took a 5% cut.
Yeah.
And then he took a 6% cut on the way into his stuff. And then he was locked in for 5-6 years. And in that 8-year relationship, he paid more in fees than he made in investment returns. It significantly damaged his financial future. Yeah. And it was all motivated by the advisor wanting to get a fee.
They're not regulated?
No, they are regulated. It's a big national firm. But yeah, they talked him in. He's had a successful complaint. He had a successful complaint against the advisor who was external, who facilitated the final salary transfer, the defined benefit transfer. That firm was actually shut down 6 months after that.
Wow.
So that fell on the FSCS, the lifeboat, financial lifeboat service. And then, the advisor when we went through it with this client, he was showing me what was there, and they just outright lied. They lied, and it was
that's crazy.
It's mad. And he was fortunate that he's managed to recoup a lot of that, and we've now, through some careful planning and investing it correctly, we've got him into a better position where he was able to retire. It delayed his retirement by 3 years.
Well, this is the scary part, right? The information asymmetry in anything, right? But especially this, because this is, you've now made your money, or you're making money, you're now investing it to build long-term wealth. The information asymmetry between me, I am a successful construction business owner. I don't know anything about finance or accounting or tax and planning. I'm trusting these people. It's a very uncomfortable position, I reckon, for a lot of people, which is often, in my view, why people actually don't invest. I mean, I've had clients come to me and say, somebody told me that I need to pay this % to pot money into my pension, and I just think it's a little bit steep. Yeah. So I think I'm better off just leaving it in the business, and then they lose out because they've sort of cold feet, but they should be investing. How can somebody, if they, besides obviously, hiring a financial planner, right? But how can somebody educate themselves on the basics so that they're well informed enough to go to a financial planner and know they're not being bullshitted?
Yeah, there's a lot of good resources online,
yeah.
And it's finding the right trusted ones, because you can look at that social media is full of people trying to sell. And what the funny thing about it is, it's all sponsored by this investment platform, sponsored
Nutmeg
by
or something.
Yeah, Trading 212.
Yeah,
there's lots of people out there with ulterior motives, where they're going to benefit from what you do. So look for free resources. Money Saving Expert's a good one.
I get, my mum still sends me, we have advisors come out of her ass, but she still sends me Money Saving Expert tips and tricks, and I'm just going, oh God, Mum, I knew you could put money towards an ISA. It's all good.
Yeah, and it's start with the basics and educate. And I think when you speak to people, like we would always say, when you go to meet a financial planner, a financial advisor, wealth manager, it's an interview, and it's two ways. And at the end of the day, they're there offering you a service. So it's for your benefit. You should be happy and comfortable with that. And you should also look at different options. So it's not just the first person who ticks a couple of those easy boxes. It's research, spend a little bit of time. You wouldn't just buy the first house you walked in when you go house hunting. That's a huge, huge investment in your wealth. So a financial advisor, a financial planner, someone who's going to be with you for decades, hopefully, it's a big decision, and it's probably not given as much consideration as it should be.
No, and then because you're having to spend money on the service, it's easier to get cold feet, because you're like, oh, I'll put this off because I actually have to fork out money for this, so I'll just leave it. I mean, I do have clients now who have large sums of money, and again, I force them to put it into a high interest savings account within their business, right? Just at least it's making something, but kind of just sat there doing nothing because they're just umming and ahhing about how to do it and what to do. And I'm seeing people sort of take advice from their parents or their friends. And again, sometimes the advice is correct, but I think it's a bit silly to invest all this time and money in growing your business and then not invest in making that money do something for you afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And year on year, you've got a lot of opportunity when it comes to your tax planning.
Yeah.
So it should always come down to what do you want from the future.
Yeah.
If you're buying a house in a couple of years and you're investing all of that surplus capital within your business into a pension, that's clearly not going to help you. That's clearly not necessarily the best move for you. So you can take the money out, and you can even declare it as dividends and leave it in the business as retained, as kind of a loan. So you can get interest on that because you're effectively loaning money to your business. You can charge interest on that.
Good reason,
Yeah, so that's a little bit of money coming back to you. Now, that cash can sit in the business, in your director's loan, until you need it. But if you're like, I only need £50,000 this year, I'm only going to take that. But then the next year you need 170, you've now walked yourself into a huge tax bill when that could be spread over a couple of years to really map out where it is. Now, extend those numbers up. If you need, we saw a case recently where the client was snookered. They were buying a house. They'd come right down the line, right up to the last minute. All the cash was still in the business. and they had to take a 250 grand dividend to cover the deposit plus a dividend next year to cover the tax.
Yeah.
It's set their business back years, and there was no choice. It's like, okay, don't buy the house. Well, we're buying the house. That's non-negotiable. Well, you've just taken 250 grand out as a dividend. Like, you're going to have to pay a load of tax on that. I want the house. It's our dream house. Fine.
Yeah, their choice.
Pay the tax. That's.
And you're saying they could have planned for it earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is typical.
And you could sit at 100 grand every year, make sure you're kind of building up that capital in your name in a tax efficient way, avoiding the 60% tax trap, avoiding big tax bills, earning interest from your director's loan. You can also do other things, like if you've got a spouse who's not, or a civil partner who's not working, put some shares in their name. If their salary is lower, split the dividend income, and all of a sudden you can share some of that dividend income to your spouse. They might pay tax at a lower rate.
Yeah.
But for a spousal transfer, there's no real concerns about that, as long as you're not giving the entire business and you lose control. But a share, and it's common, we see 25, 40, 50% in a spouse's name, just to plan for that tax. And it makes a huge difference to how much you take home.
Yeah. So speaking of planning efficiently for the future, extracting value from your business in a tax efficient manner, prudent way, what are some of the mechanisms that you guys advise on?
Yeah. So with that clear view for the future, you know where the money should be going.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether they need it personally, and if they're going, it's going to come out as income. If it's long term, maybe into the pensions.
Yeah.
There's other kind of structural things you can do. If you've got a group of companies with a holding company, you can pass money up, and that can be reallocated into other.
You do property investment through one of them.
Precisely.
Kind of thing,
So you can start to build up different assets with different income streams within your overall net worth. If your company has property that it uses, commercial property, you can use your pensions to buy that.
Mm-hmm.
And building firms, kind of suppliers, there's a level of risk there. If your customers don't pay you on time, there's a level of risk to your business with liquidity. And you see it quite regularly with trades where their business is at risk because they don't have the capital anymore. Someone's screwed them, or if someone's wound up their own business to take advantage. You can actually purchase your commercial property in your pension, and it ring fences it from the trading risk from your own business. You rent it back, so you're paying rent to your pension for inhabiting that property, but the rent is deductible for your business, so you're not paying tax on that. It's tax-free into your pension, and now you're accumulating wealth within that. And you can borrow within the pension as well, within certain limits. So it's a really good way to kind of spread your assets and protect them. Yeah.
So if I wasn't knowledgeable on this, I'd feel quite overwhelmed right now. So my question is, how simple or how complex do things need to be in reality? So the whole holding company structure and, building through your pension, that, it is straightforward if you know what you're doing. But if you were just sort of going, geez, that sounds like, that's great. Why don't we just put it in the FTSE 100 kind of thing? When should you be keeping things simple, and when should you be not? Is there a huge return on making it complex? Because
everyone is different, and everyone's situation is different. I think it very much depends on what's going on in your world. What are the risks? What are the opportunities? Mm-hmm. If there is a way in which you can save a significant amount of money by doing it in a certain way, then it's a bit of a no-brainer to pursue that. I've seen people kind of step back for the exact reason you've just said, where the tax advisor has said, this is how you should be structuring it.
Yeah.
This is going to be better for you to do sooner rather than later, because while you're investing all this money into your business isn't worth that much. So doing all of this restructuring is a perfect time.
Yeah.
But you're now kind of a little bit freaked out that there's going to be an upfront cost. And you say, actually, I don't think it's the right time.
Yeah. But that's a really important point you just made there on people reinvesting money in their businesses, but maybe their business isn't going to be that saleable. So if you think agencies, consultancies, things that don't have a lot of IP, things that rely on a lot of people, things that you can easily replicate, things that really rely on you. So,
individual.
Consultancies have terrible multiples in general. You could have a 150 person strategy or branding company with blue chip clients, and you might only be worth low eight figures, because you just, as soon as you leave and the three other partners leave, you're taking all the contacts with you, and after an earn out or a lockup period, you go and poach them again. So I think that's a really important sort of discussion to have today, which is business owners who are leaving all the value, let's say, in the business for growth, need to be aware of how saleable that business is one day, because there's no point in throwing more money and effort into something when it should actually be an extraction mechanism. It should be a cash cow that they just extract from.
So it comes down to what's important. Is it going to be a lifestyle business that funds their life for as long as they retain those shares? Or is it going to be something that there is going to be a capital event where they say, I am selling this business, I am going to be walking away?
Yeah.
And understanding which one of those options you're leaning towards, and it can change, but which one you're leaning towards helps you make those financial decisions from a personal perspective at that time. A business is only worth as much as someone's going to pay for it. And sometimes there's different options with how you can actually exit. Trade sell to a competitor, sell to someone who wants your business, your team, and you'll probably have an earn out of several years. Management buyout, where your team actually from within buy the shares, not all of them necessarily, but they give you a value. You might sell for a little bit less, but your business is going to be looked after.
It's about the purpose, right? It's giving back to your people who helped you build the business.
And you can retain shares in it. It's like quite common. We see people 10, 15, 20% share of the business. So they dividend through retirement.
Well, that's a big one. If you actually forget about trade sales, but think about selling to private equity. If your company is being sold to private equity as, let's say, a bolt-on business, which means it's going to be assimilated into a larger platform business, I've seen business owners actually just go, right, I want 30% in cash, and I want to roll the other 70% into the top co. And I want, and there's so many options when it, and that's a really safe bet, because if you're giving your hard-on work to a private equity company, especially in the small business space, so low mid-market firms like Rockpool or August Equity, you're going to probably make way more money than you could have ever made through the own business yourself.
And you've got the cash up front, which gives you that kind of agency to go and do what you want to do. So you're not now restricted by cash flow. So there's an event and you can work towards that. And one of the big bits we do is actually working towards what that number needs to be.
So on that then, let's say you define what the number is and you have somebody who's still got pushback and they're like, look, I think that that's not enough, or I think that I shouldn't be spending that much money each month. I don't think I should have a budget that big. We spoke about, somebody we mutually know earlier today. They're in a similar position where they're not quite aware of just how much they can do with what they have in the business today. How do you're a trusted advisor, right? So they trust you. How do you counsel someone like that so that you guide them towards, by the way, that number is more than enough? Because I find two things. One, everyone thinks, oh, geez, 5 million quid is nothing. 5 million quid, that's like a house and then maybe a few holidays. That very ultra conservative mindset. Whereas you have somebody who knows about investing, is like, well, 5 million quid is actually worth this much a year if you invest and you get 6 to 10% every year. Blah, blah. So how do you have a sort of a calculator that you give them, or do you show them examples, sanitize examples of other clients, success stories? How does that work?
So one of the best examples I've worked on a client with, we started off with, what is the non-negotiable lifestyle that you actually want? What does that need to look like? How much are you going to spend each year? What are the bucket list goals? Whether it's buying the dream car, being able to go on kind of, I think it was buggy racing holidays, making sure that you can go out and like buy jet ski. It was lots of these kind of, these are my non-negotiables. Then we go to, what is the dream lifestyle? That was travel. That was going all around the world. That was being able to have several different cars. And this guy's worked his arse off to build this business, and he's taken sod all out. So it's all about the capital event, but the vision and the dream of what's it all worth needed the conversation around, well, what's life going to be? And it kind of worked out that it was going to be the minimum they could accept was 90 grand income a year from age 45.
Okay, so they were retiring early.
yeah, and that was it. They would never have to work again.
Yeah,
that was it. 90 grand a year from age 45 would get them everything they wanted. What was that lump sum? Inflated up, kind of. We planned to age 100 to kind of take a really cautious approach, and it was okay, 90 grand a year. So what was the upper end? It was closer to 200 grand a year. What does the business need to be sold for that? And then you work out a middle ground and kind of like 120, 130, taking away some of the extremes. And with those annual figures, as well as the bucket list, you could actually have quite a clear vision. And it worked out that the minimum he needed to sell the business for was about 4 million. And that was going to give him everything he wanted. And that was a bit of work that we did a few years back. And then all of a sudden it comes back and it's like, well, I've gone past that. It's now worth quite a bit more. And we're working towards that higher level. And all of a sudden it's like, well, actually, once you realize it's achievable, you start to feel comfortable with that after some time. Yeah. You can actually then say, well, actually, maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to help the kids with a house. So,
and I guess sometimes it's important to connect the how if they don't have the numbers they need in the business. So let's say that his minimum number wasn't 4, it was 7.
Yep.
And he was half that at this point, is talking about, well, how can we actually get to that at 7? And
it's you've got to be able to have a realistic look at yourself and say, am I going to be able to push this business in the time I want to spend on it? Alternatively, do I need to spend that? Because it's common that people say, I'm going to sell my business for 10 million. Why 10 million? 10 million is a cracking number.
Yes, that's what I hear. And the numbers change every year. Everyone, especially if you live in and around London or even anywhere in the UK nowadays, house prices are so crazy. Mm-hmm. I was driving home last night. I can't remember where I was, somewhere in southwest London. And I was just passing these houses that looked like something out of a really, really bad 90s television show. And guarantee every single one of these really ugly semi-Ds with no driveway, north of 550, 600K.
Yep.
Right? So that's, I think, where that mindset comes from is, you feel like you do need 10 million in net worth in order to live a half decent lifestyle, because what would have cost 60 grand in the 80s is now so inflated.
My grand's house was, they've lived in it for about 60 years.
Yeah.
And it was bought for a couple of thousand, and it's now approaching like 900. And it's a terraced house in North London.
Yeah.
3-bedroom terraced house. Great location, but a small pokey house.
I was speaking with a guy who he's moved in with his long-term girlfriend or fiance now, and she lives in her mother's house, which her mother's given her. I don't know if it's gifted or whatever, but given her. Her mother bought it off the council in, I believe, Dalston Junction, somewhere up there, for like 80 grand. Not too long ago, I think something in late 90s. It's now worth about 2.6 million pounds.
Yeah, cracking location. Yep.
So I guess that's the pressure that entrepreneurs see. And I think the internet's the dangerous one too.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth noting that just because you've got an asset worth £2 million in property, you can't spend bricks and mortar. You have to take out debt against it to spend it. You have to sell it to spend that money.
Well, there's a lot of people who have different spending profiles. So just because so-and-so has I guess the best example is American. So-and-so has a $4 million house and then a $2 million beach house and then a few rent-to-rent apartments. And, you kind of look at them and go, Jesus Christ, like, what have I done wrong with my life? And then, one small thing goes wrong within that value chain and they lose absolutely everything.
Yeah. It's working out what's really important. It's so much.
That's why the financial plan for you, like you as an individual, is so important. And I think having someone like you sit in the room and go, you have all of these self-limiting beliefs or preconceived notions. I'm telling you as somebody who has this many clients and these different wealth levels that everything you're thinking right now is false because you've been tricked into it from the internet, from your family, friends, from your colleagues. And I think that's a really important sort of, come down that people need to have.
Yep. Another example, I had someone approach me saying, I'm looking at selling my business for this much. My plan is to, once I've got that cash, I'm going to invest it all in the S&P 500.
Yeah.
That's going to generate 10% a year. Right. And on that 10% a year, I can fund the lifestyle that I want. What do you think? No. What happens if it's 7% a year? Yeah. What happens if it's 3% a year?
Yeah.
You're putting all of your entire financial plan balanced on the S&P delivering 10% a year. It's a huge risk to take. So plan for the worst, hope for the best, and you give yourself the most kind of probability for success.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. I just think there's so much misinformation online about everything, not just financial planning, not just wealth management, not counting, not business growth, marketing. It's so hard to sort of cut through the thick of that jungle, so to speak. I think for me, my biggest learning is just get as much of a diversity of advice as you can from seasoned people, and then pick whoever aligns with your sort of thesis the best. I remember when I was getting my pilot's license, and this is a really good example for this, is there were a load of instructors, and you had the instructors who they were just there hour building, and they were not really that interested in helping you. They were just there to kind of go, right, take off, turn here, turn there, land, and just, build their hours. And the other ones who were just like absolute hardcore pilots who just would just put you into the worst situations possible because they learned in similar ones. And then you had the ones who were super risk averse, who would over-plan everything and overdo everything. And you would just pray to Jesus that they weren't the one instructing you that day, because you were just going to have a miserable time. And I think you've got to decide what sort of an instructor, so to speak, you need when it comes to, business growth, wealth management, because what I need is very different to what somebody else needs. And that's why there's so many of you.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that was one of the drivers for us to go and start our own business. It was have our destiny in our own hands and be able to deliver a service which we were comfortable with. And it wasn't all based on the numbers. It's the way in which we structure ourselves is if someone wants to work with us, they can, and they know they're going to be paying for the service they're getting, not just the amount of money they're investing with us. It's just about trying to find someone who's a good fit for you and is able to give you the time you need and take you on that journey to get you to kind of where you've got the clarity from what you want from the future, and you can make those choices.
Yeah. And in terms of the sorts of people that you work with, what would the sort of top and bottom kind of, not wealth, but I would guess knowledge base be? So like do you have any clients who are extremely financially intelligent, let's say, who just are a bit of a pain to deal with because they question everything?
100%.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't got those types of clients, you're probably missing a trick. My favorite clients to work with are the ones which will challenge you on everything. And it's more because they want to understand and they haven't got a filter which makes them go, well, maybe I shouldn't ask. But the clients, I've got a few who I can think of who make me better are the ones which challenge me. And there can be preconceived notions where, well, it's like this because it's like this. Well, why is it like that? Okay, now I now need to go and give you a good answer because I'm pretty sure it's right.
Yeah, that would be me. I'd be that painful customer.
it's a great way to be, and that level of detail for me as an advisor makes me better. Yeah. And if I can't answer those questions, and I'm always happy to say I can't give you a definitive answer, rather than get it wrong now. I want to go and check it, and I will come back to you. And you do, and you go back and you give them the answer. And having that sort of ability to have that conversation, I think it does build trust, and it makes sure that the client's getting the right answer for them. Yeah. And I'm constantly improving. Like everyone's situation is slightly different. How does this apply in this situation? How does this apply when you change it to that? And it's important just to have those conversations that really do kind of align to what people want and need.
Yeah. And when you onboard somebody, what do people's finances and the organization of them generally look like? Because I'm just thinking about how disorganized some business owners are when I meet them from their business standpoint, and I can only imagine that they've got real estate portfolio here, bank account there, just because I have to spread them 80 grand in each of them just because I need to be protected.
Or all in one.
Yeah. Yeah,
it varies. Again, huge array. We've got people who have done absolutely nothing and they've been sat there going, I need to do something, but just can't quite take those first steps. And the conversations start, and it can be slow and steady, and it's just incremental gains. You've then got people who have tried a little bit of everything, and they learn by doing. And then it's unpicking what's happened here, and someone's told them to do this, so they've done that. Someone's told them they have to have this in their portfolio, so they've gone and done that. And it just takes a bit more time to unpick the kind of overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
So,
do you give them a platform to? Because that's what I mean when I'm thinking about. Obviously we'll have bank accounts and stocks and shares everywhere and ISAs, but do you have a consolidated sort of dashboard that pulls all that data in some manner?
Yeah, so we've got a client portal we use, and it does have open banking, open finance, so it can pull in. It just very much depends on the providers who are kind of giving that data, because some of them more than happy to give live daily feeds. Others, it's a spreadsheet download or manual update. The financial services sector is not known for its helpfulness, because I think there's always different. Every company wants its own vested interest.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to track, because if you've got funds at different levels and you've got investments which you can't really value because they're businesses and whatever, it's very hard to kind of put here's your net worth today at 4 p.m. You could probably have a cash-based net worth and a stocks and shares-based net worth, but everything else, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, net worth's a great way to kind of track progress, because if you're investing money into a business, into a property, into any asset portfolio, you over time will see growth. And when we're talking about growth, we're talking about 5 years plus. If financial planning is all about planning for multiple years, if not decades ahead, quick wins we do on an annual basis, but tracking that net worth, and we meet with all of our clients minimum once a year, go through everything. Where are they? What do they want to? Has anything changed? Is there anything that I now need to be aware of? And do we need to pivot the plan to focus on something different? Like surprise child on the way. It's like, Are
you ever a bit of a counsellor? You have the husband and wife in, and they're sort of arguing over what they should spend money on.
Yep. Yeah. And you normally see the flash of the eyes, and someone's in trouble after the call or after the meeting, or you go out for a drink with them afterwards, and it's
I mean, it's interesting how much some couples don't talk about money, and I think in the UK especially, money is so taboo. In America, they love telling you how much money they have and how much they make, but over here it's very taboo. And I remember speaking with the owner of his private jet company. He also owns a number of the planes at the airport I fly at, and he owns a flight school. And I was saying, you should look at buying a really nice small plane for the people who don't want to fly the crappy trainer aircraft that you've got. And he went, we've looked into it, and statistically about 90% of people who are statistically mostly men who get private pilot's licenses, who are, again, statistically in their 30s to 50s, do not retain their licenses once they get them. And I said, why? 90% they're spending 15 to 30K on average to get a license. Why? Well, because when they get their license and they go to their wife, I'm going off flying today, the wife realized, hold on a sec, so he can go out and spend £350 flying on a Saturday afternoon, but I can't go to the Ivy or get my nails done, or, go somewhere and do something to the tune of 350 quid. WTF? and apparently, he's done his research. He's a veteran in the industry, and that's what's happened. It's just people don't communicate.
Yep. I think that's fair enough. And there's climbing the mountain, and if the mountain is achieving your license, then once you've got there,
you need to think about how much it's going to cost to maintain. Yeah. I mean, I did the maths on it. I mean, I'm probably in for 3.5-4 grand a year forever. And that's if I just do the bare minimum, fly a really shit plane.
Yeah. But from everything you've told me, you really enjoy it, and it's a way you unwind. And
it's been planned. I mean, I'm my dad was an accountant originally. I'm very good at looking ahead, planning. Numbers is everything we do. I probably have a bit more of a risk profile than most people who have my financial financial literacy and knowledge, but that's just how I like to operate. An entrepreneur, you have to be risk taking.
Yeah, and you're going to meet the right type of people by going to the airfield.
You say that, but again, like I believe there's £2 million Cirrus planes, which are like the Ferrari of small planes, in the airport I fly at, in the hangar, which have been untouched. And I believe one of them was bought by somebody that exited their IT consultancy of some sort. Like, sorry, not consultancy, IT, cybersecurity, whatever. They've did a load of roll-ups in that sector. And another guy who was, a big lawyer or something. And I'm just thinking, like, you've bought these 2 planes for that sum of money, and you haven't even got your licenses yet, and you've given up.
Yep. I think everyone's got those little bucket list goals that they want forever.
But those are the same people who will barter over price on things, which is what baffles me sometimes. I was speaking with they do luxury like they do some form of architecture, the engineering side of like some complex engineering for like really, really high net worth individuals. Like there are houses in the UK, if you go on the top most expensive houses in the UK, there are houses that aren't on that list that these guys have done because they're just so private up in the Cotswold kind of thing. And they'll have somebody ring them up and say, hey, the market is down. I know I owe you $4,000, but can I pay you $2,000 and we'll walk away as friends, because again, the market's down, but they're ringing them from their £15 million Mayfair townhouse.
Yeah, but people don't get wealthy by throwing money away.
Yeah.
And if you've got a contract, then you should live up to your contract. I think it's...
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's just interesting to see how people spend money in business, personally, and then with their vices. It's crazy when you map it out. And I'd probably be quite frustrated as a financial planner, because you'd be kind of like trying to organize everything for them. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we're taking a super yacht out south of France for a week because I want to.
Well, we regularly get it. Someone's like, we've done all the investing, got everything set up, different tax structures. They're like, we've seen a house in France. How much? Oh, nearly €1 million. And it's like, okay, when? Soon?
Yeah.
But they've only been empowered to make those decisions by going through the planning process. And because they've got that understanding of their plan and where they are financially now, they can make that informed decision. And that might be the right thing for them. You might say, well, look, this is going to have to be sold at some point. But if you're going to use it and you're going to live there for 3-4 months a year, and you're going to have your family come over with you and you rent it out, go for it. And again, for us, we celebrate that. And we've just had someone who's randomly, they saw a house up north that they absolutely loved. And it was like, didn't expect to move up there. Didn't want to. There was never the plan. We were going to move locally, but they saw this house, loved it. And it was gone. They've moved from London up north. And it's brilliant for them, and they are so happy up there now. And the money's just a tool to make them achieve those different goals.
So aside from investing and extracting cash, if we talk a bit about the business then, because a lot of your clients are owner managers, they own their companies. How much discussion do you have about, well, look, your business is worth this much, it probably needs to be worth this much. You need to accept that it's going to take you a set number of years and go down that process. How much of the business side of things do you get involved in?
So we have a main focus on the financial planning side. Yeah. So it's planning for the business, the contingency planning for the business. Mm-hmm. So making sure they've got shareholder protection in place, key person if it's needed. When it comes to valuing the business and the efficiencies, it's not something that we really get involved in. It's not our area of expertise. I think it's kind of from my understanding, that's exactly what you do with your clients. And I think that's where your sphere of competence comes in. And if we know someone's got lots of moving parts in their business, it's, well, actually, we're not the right people for you to talk to. speak to Dylan. He's going to be able to actually have those conversations with you, look at where you can make your gains.
Yeah. Well, it's about realizing that, because I think a lot of people think their businesses are worth more than they are, right? It's an emotional attachment. And then also a lot of people think their businesses are crap and they want to get out of them. Yeah. The amount of people I've spoken with who've fallen out of love or just think they've got a failing business, then you sit down and frame it with them and go, well, actually, your business would have been extremely profitable last year, but these 3 things happened. Actually, one of them you shouldn't have done at all, because you ran a house renovation through your business. So that's why. And 2 and 3, mass inefficiencies, bad year for the market, blah, blah, blah. So I find connecting those 2 things are very important, because I could be speaking with a business owner whose company, he thinks his company's worth, or she thinks her company's worth 4 million quid, but we might actually find out it's actually worth 8 million. But if they work on 3 things over the next 2 years, that could be worth 12 million. Yeah. And connecting all of those, joining those dots, so to speak, is really, really important. Yep. I was just speaking early this week with an expert, sort of a tax planner on this, and it's exactly that. It's how do you re-engineer your business to maximize the value of it, and how do you get real with actually this is the cap. Like, you run a lifestyle consulting business or coaching business, you can't sell this. You could probably sell the email list, the newsletter list, and some training courses, but that's about it. Your business is worthless.
Yeah, it's you are your business. Yeah. And I think that's where there are conversations you have about that. And then it's about, actually, well, if you're your business, you are your runway to financial independence. We need to start thinking about how you're going to move the value from your business to you personally, and then you can fund your life to live that lifestyle you want. I've got a client who, very similar situation, was paying for an apartment, because working very long hours. This is a doctor, brilliant in her field, and working her arse off, kind of up first thing Monday morning, here all week, and then going home Friday night or Thursday night normally. And she was living in a flat in London that she was renting. And the rent on it, she'd only get in at midnight after kind of finishing her day and leave at 6 a.m. And it was like, well, do you really want to be doing that? Is that what you want? And it ended up being a conversation we had. And she said, no, I love my flat. I'm keeping it. And 4 or 5 months later, I got a call. She said, the flat's gone. My daughter's moved up to London and she needs a flat. So we're renting together. And it's half the cost. And all of a sudden, you've then got a couple of £1,000 a month free that she's like, I can invest that, can't I? Like, yeah, absolutely. And it allows you to actually then start to focus on somewhere different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And these, it sounds like you've quite an interesting, diverse client list. Are most of these clients coming to you without any experience of working with an expert, or are most of them coming to you from another expert?
We get a mix. I think I'd say the majority haven't had proper financial planning before. The ones that have, it's either been very focused on, let's just say, it's more of a wealth manager, an investment manager. This is your portfolio. We're going to do this and invest in this interesting thing. Yep. Normally it's all the same stuff, just packaged differently and branded differently. Where you do have people who have had existing advisors. I spoke to a lovely couple yesterday, business owners. They'd realised about 10 years ago that they were coming up to the end of their working lives and they needed to do everything they could to actually give themselves that kind of financial independence when they get there. In that time, in that 10-year period, starting a new business to where they are today, they've managed to save over £1 million.
Right.
They've cut back personally because they understood that if they don't save, they're not going to be able to stop working. If they're not going to be able to stop working, they're not going to enjoy later life. So they've gone, but they have an existing advisor. And the reason they got into contact with me is wanted a sense check.
Yeah.
Frustratingly for them, they've got lock-in penalties where they're quite a substantial.
Do you think it's a bit cheeky that people do that?
Oh, it's a way of keeping people from leaving, making it hard to leave. It's an emotional hook that just manipulates people into staying. I would say most of them are going to be removed over time. but it's something which fairly old school, and I hate them.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of kind of saving £1 million, have you ever heard of a guy called Dave Ramsey in the US?
Yeah.
I think his content is hilarious.
He's good. He's very good.
It's a very different kind of. I don't know. I don't think that model would work in Europe, but it's great the way they go up and go. I'm debt free. I'm worth this much. I make this much. I bought a house, and it does make you realize actually by taking the right steps and investing right and not overspend. I mean, actually, that's probably more important. Is you've got investing, but also your spend and not overspending. And I think a lot of people just no, I'm doing that.
Yep. When we do our plan, so much of it is pay yourself first. You've got your non-negotiables, mortgage, household bills, fees that you can't, not school fees, all of these things. You can't,
electricity, all that.
Precisely. You can't avoid. You've then got money for the future. Mm-hmm. And if that's, let's say, like the £1,600 into your ISA a month, £1,000 into your pension, more maybe, you've got all of these different things you can save towards, which then achieve your goals in later life. What's left over is then your money to enjoy. Yeah. And you've been empowered to spend that money. You don't have to, but you've been empowered so that you've given yourself permission to go and spend that money, knowing that everything you've planned for in the future has been kind of already saved towards.
And do you offer sort of a done-for-you service whereby, let's say X person is taking home 20K a month after the taxes have been paid, and you've allocated, right, this is how, so, $8,000 of that's going to go into investments, $12,000 of it's living costs. Do you have a service whereby they just transfer you the 8K and then you go and sort it out? Yeah,
so we would set up a direct debit on a monthly basis, make sure that the money's being deployed as planned. So whether that's pensions, ISAs, if we do tax efficient investments as well, it's making sure that the money is going where it needs to be. Normally for business owners, we'll have their annual catch up to make sure, are we still on track? Are we still heading towards the North Star? But then we'll also do an end of business tax year meeting. What's going on in the business? Do you have money built up? Should we be doing something extra? And making sure that we stay on track that way.
So you must be very busy at certain times of year then. You must have a pretty tight schedule.
Post-Christmas, it's manic. January, February, March is normally very busy because a lot of people have their business years aligned with the business, the personal tax year.
And do they come see you in person mostly?
Varies. Obviously, if you're a busy business owner, you don't necessarily want to just drop everything and go out for half a day because it takes time to commute. So loads of phone calls. We do a lot of kind of ad hoc, just quick 5 minutes here. Right, this is going on. Fine, we'll tackle that. Then we'll tackle it now. We can have it where the sit down we try to do face to face as a minimum. If they go out for dinner afterwards, lunch, something, kind of celebrate. Achieving what we set out to plan for that year. But it's whatever works.
You've got a client sort of impact report. You say, we set out to do this. This is what we did. And obviously the market does what it does, right? So people are aware of that. But I think that's great that you can do that for them. Because that, I'm one of the people who likes control. So I do everything myself when it comes to those investments. But it is arduous, if I'm honest with you. And especially when you're using some older banking systems and you've got really weird authentication methods. And then if you do forget something, it's been mailed to you. It's just, my God, like I missed out on I kind of bulk everything, and I don't do monthly. I kind of bulk everything at the end of the year or the start of the year, like whichever one works for me. I never pay for stuff in finance. I pay for everything in cash. Like I'm just one of those people. I'll pay my car insurance up front, all of that stuff. But I remember I missed out on an ISA, on my entire ISA one year, because I lumped the whole 20K into Fundsmith, but they needed an authentication thing, and I was away on holidays, and I didn't get the letter, and I didn't get the email either for whatever reason. So you can imagine if I had someone like you, it wouldn't have happened, or you would have been in big trouble.
Well, that's it. One, we're in trouble. If we've said we're going to do it and we don't, then smack on the wrist for us. We are there to hold our clients accountable. By doing our annual check-in as a minimum, we were saying you need to do this. Like, I appreciate it's a pain in the backside, but you need to do it. Once it's done, we can forget about it for at least a few years. But we need to make sure we're ticking these boxes because this is a risk to you. this is a weak point. You need to get this sorted. It's things like having a will. Like so many people just like, I don't want to think about that. It's such a negative, morbid thing. But having a will in place is vital.
We should partner with a lawyer, and we should create a checklist for all business owners to complete with these things on them. Because I had one of my clients get married the other month, and I said, have you thought about prenup? And he went, no. I said, you are 100% aware of the money you have in comparison to your fiance, and what does happen. Over 50% of marriages end in divorce these days.
Yeah, it's one we see more with parents, and it's bloodline protection. So it's making sure if there has been a capital event or if there's a large asset base, so it's having their estate set up correctly, so that the money passes potentially to a trust. Now, it can come out to the kids, but it's making sure that there is a structure in place that does protect the kids, that does protect the spouse.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should draw something like that up, because I think it would, I mean, I do something similar in a business, and I go, look, who's your accountant? Are they doing these 4 things for you? If not, right, let's have a chat, because that's not good enough. You know,
it's about having those conversations.
It's simple stuff. But as you said, having the right shareholders agreement in place, etc. A lot of people would just go, no, we'll do that later. Yeah. And it's crazy how much money they leave on the table. I think if we address that, it all works out. So maybe that should be an action step after this.
Sounds good.
Quite cool. I mean, I think there's a lot of insights out of today. I think planning, strategy, accountability, just really knowing what your North Star is. And if you don't know what your North Star is, knowing what you don't want, I think is very important. But we'll link all the details, probably put this on YouTube, Spotify, etc. We'll link all the details below, and we'll all probably have a conversation with Rob or someone at Finova at some point, just to even sense check that you're happy with your existing setup, right? And it's a free complimentary health check, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. All our conversations to start off with, and that there's no fee in.
Yeah, and he's a nice guy to have a pint with, so Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today,
Thanks
Rob.
for having me. Loved it. Been really good.